Hello! Welcome to Understanding the Five Seed Shapes, the first in a series of videos intended to introduce you to understanding and using visual metaphors and arguments in the knowledge-making process. By the end of today's video, you will 1. Understand the five seed shapes that can be combined to draw any object or idea. 2. Practice combining the seed shapes to create different representational visuals. And 3. Consider how combining words and images might improve the recognizability of your drawing. As in most videos in the series, we'll ask you to first learn about a new idea and then try your hand at thinking with the visuals. Let's pause now to gather the materials you'll need: a pencil and several pieces of paper. You can use blank or gridded paper, but we don't recommend using lined paper, like the kind you might get from a notebook. It's important to note that this is not an exercise in being an illustrator or a great artist like Bob Ross. You don't need to actually know how to draw at all to put these concepts to use. Rather than try to become excellent drawers, we are instead working to understand the affordances of the page as critical thinkers, exploring how the page allows us to make knowledge in new ways, to combine ideas in new ways, and to discover new ideas through drawing. In order to use the page, though, we need a set of tools, a grammar for the page, if you will. If the English language works with 26 alphabetic characters that combine and recombine, what characters make up a visual language? Following a range of scholars and practitioners, we suggest to begin with 5 seed shapes. They are a circle, a square, a triangle, a line, and a dot. Let's spend a few minutes trying to draw these consistently. Your primary focus here should be on creating each line, for example, without stopping. So let's begin with a straight line, number 4, in the seed shapes. On a piece of paper, draw 5 or 6 lines of different length. Note that drawing straight lines is difficult, and that the longer your lines get, the more difficult it is to keep a continuous line going. If you find yourself struggling, focus on moving your forearm rather than your wrist to create a straight line. Now, let's work on combining these lines into squares. Create 5 or 6 squares of the same size. Good. Now let's create 4 to 5 increasingly bigger squares. Finally, let's work the circle. Remember, a circle should be completed in one full movement, a line that wraps around itself. Let's work to create 5 to 6 circles of the same size. Great! Now that we've practiced a few of the seed shapes, we can begin to see how these 5 seed shapes can be combined to create visual representations of nearly everything you see around you. Take, for example, a stoplight. Although we distort a square into a rectangle, this works fairly well as a combination of a square, a circle, and a circle. And we can also draw increasingly complex versions of what we see. A house could be a very simple combination of a triangle and a square and a rectangle. But we can add additional details depending on the purpose of a representation. Now, let's take a minute for you to try combining the 5 seed shapes into a stoplight and a house. We want to note here, as you draw, that these aren't meant to be particularly sophisticated drawings, and that's okay. The purpose here isn't to create a piece of art, remember? When we work towards visual argumentation, we're instead focused on whether the visual is recognizable to the reader. If not, consider then what kind of detail might be added to clarify what's going on in the image. Let's all try drawing, for example, a cat. For me, cats are hard. They always end up looking like a rat or some other nondescript animal with ears and a body. But to start, I'll draw a circle for the head and a bigger circle for the body. Now, maybe I'll add some triangles for ears, dots for eyes, and an upside down triangle for the nose with lines for the mouth. I'm not sure this looks enough like a cat. So what might I do to increase the clarity of the image? Are there pieces of the seed shapes that might help me? Whiskers? That helps. But really, the thing that might be most helpful for clarity is to add a dialogue bubble that really shows us what this image is. Yes? This is a key for creating recognizable drawings. If you're not sure the drawing does the work adequately, consider adding words. For example, if you're drawing a can, you can clarify what's in the can by adding a label, for example. Here, this nondescript can becomes a soup can because I've told the viewer or the reader that it is a can with soup. Here, now you try. Excellent. In this video, you've learned about the 5 seed shapes, practiced drawing them individually and in combination, and begun considering how to combine drawings with words to clarify the representation of objects you're working to draw. In the next video, we'll differentiate between representational drawings, which we've worked on today, and relational metaphorical drawings. Until then, continue working to sketch and draw the 5 seed shapes in combination and independently.